Exactly. How do you find someone to replace you and not tell them that they're moving in with the devil?
Hello, just wanted to put a quick disclaimer at the top of this episode. It contains some pretty darn heavy themes that we haven't delved into in other Sharehouse episodes. So if you're looking for something light, fun and friendly, we've got plenty of episodes coming out, or the ones that have already been dropped, maybe rehash an old episode. Just wanted to give you that disclaimer. Welcome back to the Sharehouse podcast, the place to air gripes, find compromise, and get a bit of a guide to sharehouse living. My name's Mikey D. I'm joined by my best friend in the entire world, Joel Harris.
Woo!
And very honourably, very based. I don't think I used it right.
No, I am based. It's true.
We're joined by Slade.
Hello.
It's great to have you here first.
Thank you for having me on.
You've got a tale to tell. I kind of just want to jump into it because we went for lunch and I said, don't tell me anything. I want to hear it live on air. It's a smutty story.
There's some smut. When isn't there smut when you're talking about housemates? You know what
That's
I mean?
That's a fact.
But you've been on a saga. Like, you've been moved out for almost the same amount of time that I've been moved out of home. But you've been, what, 3-4 places now?
Yeah, there's been a few. So there was the first house, Nunawading. And
Shout out
Nunawading. It's based. But yeah, so first house was fine. First time living out of home. All good.
Yeah.
Took me a little bit to get into it. I wasn't the best housemate at first.
Why? Give me the 5 bad traits of a Slade.
Because I remember back then you were telling me about how the others were bad housemates.
No, they were
Weet-Bix bowls left in the sink.
Yes. Okay, the Weet-Bix story. So this is the crescendo of the smut. This is the be all end all.
We'll get back to why you're a bad housemate.
Yes, we'll get back to that.
But I want to hear about Weet-Bix right now.
We can forget about me being a bad housemate.
I'm not letting this slide.
Okay, we'll put a pin in it.
Which house is this in? Is this in the Nunawading home?
This is in the Nunawading home.
House numero uno.
Numero uno out of home. I was a young 21-year-old lad.
Okay.
And I moved into this house.
Sure.
This man, tall, skinny, pasty white man, he would leave his Weet-Bix bowls in the sink every single morning without fail, with milk and Weet-Bix in the bowl, but he would put it so that it is directly underneath the faucet. So that when I go to wash my breakfast dishes or get a glass of water, I fill it up with more water by accident because it's just right there. And then it looks like a bowl of sick, and it was every single morning for about a month until he moved out. And he did move out, which was good for us.
Heck, you and your Weet-Bix bowl.
Yeah. But that's about the it of the Weet-Bix bowl. It was just a bit of it's one of those things in a share house that you'll start to notice. Like,
I'm glad we issued a smut warning.
Yeah. Look,
that is so smutty.
Look,
I thought you murdered the guy or something.
That ain't here.
I thought this story was going to end with you breaking the bowl over the man's head.
No. He was just a weird bloke. He got up every morning at 4:30 to go do Zumba.
4:30 in the morning?
4:30 in the morning. Primary school teacher doing Zumba.
That's a
tall,
dedicated man.
Skinny. He looked like a Reddit moderator. So not like the best. He was a lovely guy. Shout out.
Is he? The way you're speaking about this
barrel
man.
of this one.
Love you, buddy.
The way you're speaking about is as if he's the cockroach beneath your boots.
Oh, yeah, but look,
a lovely guy.
No, you see, you got to draw the line.
Weet-Bix has a bit of a stench to it as well.
Does it? It's
and it gets
cardboard.
crusty on the bowl.
Especially if you leave the milk in there and there's...
Was there no dishwasher present in the home?
No, there's a dishwasher.
So that peeves me.
Yeah. No, so he just chose to put it there.
Was he bad with other dishes?
Not really. Honestly, that was his one. Actually, he f***ed really loud and really annoying. it's not
door wide open.
His room was on top of mine, 2 stories.
Yeah.
We didn't share like half a room. He got the top half of it. He just lived upstairs. And there's a hole in the roof in my room from the previous housemate trying to get them to stop with the broom and bang in the roof.
Whoa.
Because through the ceiling could hear it.
Oh my god!
but
the same man having sex was tried to be stopped by that broom.
And yes, and he also did Zumba, and that's an important part of
I
the
love
story.
you trying to circle back to the Wheat Bix and the Zumba thing as if the sex thing isn't the juice of the story.
No. The sex is based. I'm fine with loud sex in a share house. It's like if you're getting what you're getting, get it good. You know.
Sure.
Yeah,
but the Wheat Bix. Oh.
I can stand by that.
It was just the one very small annoying part about it. But
Okay.
Look, the juice wasn't really in the first house.
Yeah.
But I'll circle back to quickly why I was a bad housemate.
Please.
Yeah, I was going to ask questions about this hole, but let's move on.
Yeah, the hole's patched up. It's all gone.
No more
It's
drip
done.
drips.
Deprived
No
of my
more drip
5
drips, yeah.
bad reasons, and please hit me with your 5. I'm not going to call them guilty pleasures because that's not the way to phrase
No,
them. but-
because they weren't guilty pleasures. They were just me being quite lazy, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't the best with cleaning up after cooking. And by not the best, I mean, I just leave it.
Right.
But then do it the next day. Like, if I finish cooking at like 9, I'd tidy up, put my dishes in a pile, and then wash them the next morning. Or the next day. And
Boils my blood.
And sometimes the next day turned into the next day. And look, I was cringe.
But now you are based?
Can I
No, I'm getting there. It's a
get to
progress.
road to based?
Yeah, road to base.
Have you heard of the word hypocrisy?
Yes.
Because when I hear stack of dishes that are untouched for 3 days, and then I hear Wheat Bix bowl in the sink, I think, oh, it's on a similar vein.
Okay, but there's no food on the plates and the dishes.
Right. Okay.
But there's food in the Wheat Bix. Oh, look, I'm not arguing that that the Wheat Bix bowl wasn't as bad or worse or better or anything. It's
Who's
just
to say?
Who's to well, if we're being honest, I was worse.
yeah.
I just simply was. But that's fine.
Your housemate's like this Rodney-looking guy, just putting dishes everywhere.
Flushed away a rat, came straight out.
Okay, so you moved there. We'll get you out of ratting on yourself. Ratting,
thank you.
the pun.
But no, I want to run to your defense because you are an excellent cook.
Thank you.
You cook very
Thank you.
well.
doesn't mean he's an excellent cleaner.
Well, are you
Exactly.
cooking for the rest of the house, though? Are they benefiting from your delicious meals?
Sure.
Yeah, way to come to his defense, Joe.
No, but I would have Slade over for the sole reason that he would cook me a delicious dinner.
Actually, I've done this before for you, have I not?
100%
I think
you
so,
have.
I've tasted your burger before. That's not a sexual innuendo.
No,
it's
it
a great
is
burger.
a sexual innuendo. Tara, if you're listening.
It's a bit of South African pleasure, huh?
Yeah, a bit of South African.
That was really good, Joe.
Are you gonna be the one to judge the South African accent on whether it was good or not?
You haven't disclosed whether you're from another country or not yet, so I can be the arbiter of South African accents.
I'm South African. He's wrong. And
Right, you just came you're from Pretoria. You see that? You looked at me like I looked at you about the dishes being stacked up 10 high.
okay, and on that note, we can move past that. The South African accent was great.
Thanks.
It was
He's
great.
trying to come to your
It was
defense.
Hey,
great. I know.
there's a bit of history here. He knows I'm really anxious about my accents. And he's
Okay.
trying to hype me up, and now I'll never do it again. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
well,
Dad.
And Daddy.
So we move from house number 1 where you were an untidy boy and there's a
bit,
hole in
yeah.
your ceiling due to broom damage. We moved to house number 2.
So house number 2 wasn't really a share house. Our lease got ended because the scumbag landlords, they wanted to knock it down and sell it.
Oh.
And so we just got told to move, which was
Is
unfortunate.
that legal? Just to cut your...
Yes.
Really?
They gave us enough warning. They gave us 3 months, which is your legal requirement.
Okay. Even if it's not towards the end of your rental agreement? You can void that with just a random warning? Is that how that works?
I don't know the specifics.
To be fair, we should know. We run a podcast around Sharehousing, we don't.
That's
on
a
us.
good point.
That's
Why
on
are you
us.
checking me for facts? I should be
we'll
bouncing
Google
it
Maybe
it.
back
the
to
guests
you.
are meant to educate us. That's how this works.
It's an information
okay.
exchange that only we benefit from anyways. So you get quickly scooted out of your home.
Yes, and I didn't have enough time to find a new place, the renters market. But a friend of mine, really good mate, I'll leave his name out of it for the podcast, but him and his family put me up.
Okay.
It was lovely. But I will admit my bad housemate qualities came over to my friend's house a little bit. It not nearly as bad.
Yeah,
nowhere near as
but I
bad.
get
But
you.
I did end up leaving feeling a little bad about, they put me up. They went out of their way to host some 22-year-old South African immigrant, but that's also all good now.
Yeah,
I've
but I
apologized
understand,
since. Yeah,
It's tough, especially because you're 21, 22 at the time.
yeah, 21, 22 somewhere.
And you've got bad habits and you're still forging in new habits.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
In like your mate's dad's house too. That there must be a bit of a strange power dynamic to that too.
Well, his mother likes me a lot.
Oh, no.
Well, enough there. Easy now.
We did say it was a smutty episode.
No.
Slade!
Unless.
Imagine that's where the story went.
No.
No.
No nefarious activity happened. I did my time.
Yep.
And I found my next house.
Okay.
In now. So I'm slowly moving my way to the sticks, to the mountains. The ranges.
out to Digger's Rest,
Moving
huh?
through
Yeah. Heading up to Belgrave in a couple of years.
Okay.
But moved in. I founded Ferrifloss Real Estate. Shout out. It's very good. We like that.
Okay.
And met this lovely girl named my new housemate. But I didn't get to meet the guy that lived there. Now, I was told that he was an arbiter, which I think means you chop down trees for a living.
Okay.
Not like an arbitration court. Like
No. He was not that kind of smart.
he was chopping trees.
He was Mans was climbing up ladders and going. Brrr.
Aren't you supposed to not climb up ladders after 40? So he's only got a year left on his.
Damn.
That's tough. I
No,
wonder what he's doing now.
Well, we'll get to that.
We're about to find out.
Because so to continue with the story.
Yes.
Didn't get to meet him. Find out he's a relatively old tradie, but he was nice enough as far as housemate knew.
Sure.
There was one warning I got. He brings a lot of women over, very often. And I didn't take this as too much of a weird thing. I mean, grown-ups, everyone brings home people eventually, sometimes, maybe frequently.
It's not with the Lord, but
yeah, this was the only warning I got moving in.
yeah.
2 lovely dogs too, not part of the story, but just gotta say it, they were very cute.
Yeah, it's a big benefit.
Yeah, big benefit.
A lot of women, a lot of dogs. Very exciting.
Yes, and so one of the dogs was owned by one by. Now, this dog is named Zeus. Zeus plays a key part in this story. Funny enough.
What breed of what is the dog named Zeus got to be?
Could you take a wild stab?
Chihuahua, of course.
Oh, no, it's Staffy.
Staff. Oh man,
like,
they're the
like
ones
those
making
American big. Yeah.
like that kind of dog.
Yeah, it's how dogs sound. Yeah.
Massive balls too.
Oh,
Massive balls.
yucky.
And so, man, he was very, energetic and whatnot. But Mr. Arbiter, him and his dog, right? Now, that's where the issue started. Because his dog grew very fond of me. Because he unfortunately didn't take very good care of his dog. Never took it on walks, didn't play with it. And those breeds, very energetic. And when they don't get to release that energy, they get very pent up. They will chew things. They'll bark. They'll do things they know they're not supposed to for the attention they're not getting.
Gotcha.
Now, because he wasn't giving any of the dog any attention, I started. I didn't just walk his dog, but I would let it into my room. I'd feed it if he wasn't around. So we got a little close. And so the first kind of, call it an altercation, I suppose, was over text with. Now, he got very aggressive about the fact that I was spending so much time with his dog. He thought that I was trying to steal his dog.
Oh.
And that the dog now liked me more, and that's my fault. Which, in a way, sure, but he also didn't look after it, and I just gave it basic love and attention.
We talked about this in an episode past as well. If you have an animal in the house,
it's just,
you're not going to ignore it if it's being treated poorly.
It's the house's dog. You kind of have to acknowledge its presence there, and if
everyone has their own relationship.
Yeah. But he got mad at this. But I said, look, I just won't let it into my room. No worries. Just look after your dog. Stop letting it chew up 2 couches.
Oh, yo.
And so much else.
Yeah,
but
gotcha.
that's also part of the story. We'll get there. Now, I've now met a few times at this point. Obviously, living with him.
I was gonna say.
But you know how it is in a share house. You don't always run into them all the time.
How many months into the lease was this?
So I only stayed there for about 3 months. So this entire story takes place in there, and a lot happens.
Okay.
But so about maybe a couple of weeks in, things start getting a little weird, and I get some aggressive texts. Nothing like crazy. He wasn't threatening to come downstairs and hit me with a hammer. He was just saying, "F off my dog," you know. And so we got past that, but thing about did a lot of meth frequently. And
you don't get to play on here. Time out. Where and how did you find out that did the meth?
He came into the kitchen and said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing a lot of drugs at the moment."
Oh, okay. So just an open free for all.
Yeah. In one instance, at a party I had, or a small gathering, whatever you want to call it, started walking around the party area shirtless. Now, keep in mind, he's almost 40, and my friends are all in their early 20s. So it's a bit weird.
A little bit.
And he goes up to who you both know and love. Goes up to him and says, "Yeah, I do a lot of meth, and I don't have my license, and I drive around while I'm high."
Oh, Jesus.
And then he walked away.
Whoa.
Bragging about it, thinking apparently he thinks he's cool, which kids' drugs are bad.
And meth specifically
is
I'm
really
still
bad.
timed out right now.
But yeah, so it's been doing some nefarious things at home, away from home, and once he kind of started this up, because I assume he had previously been on it, because he seemed fine. He didn't have like terrible teeth. He wasn't sporadic. He wasn't weird.
Yeah.
Until a couple of weeks in. I mean, he was your classic 40-year-old Aussie bogan tradie. He was a bit weird. But then play music from as soon as he got home, which would be around 4 p.m., all the way through to 5 a.m. Loud doof. He had no door. He had a curtain that blocked his entrance to upstairs, because he had the one room upstairs and I shed downstairs. And so loud banging music all throughout the night. I'm a tradie. I get up super early in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's just not great trying to go to bed to doof and then waking up to the same doof on loop. But yeah, that was one of the things that started happening. It was a bit annoying.
This is still a month, right?
Less than a month then.
Your resilience is incredible. I would have been out of there night 2 if it had continued. That's ridiculous.
You think my resilience is good now?
It keeps going.
It gets so much worse.
Oh my god.
So then, following that, I found out he started beating his dog.
Oh man.
Now Zeus was the sweetest, cutest, big doof head dog ever. He was just a sweetheart, just not looked after very well. One night I was looking out my window. I saw him hit his dog in the head with a shovel. Now, he's not a small man, and he didn't exactly tap the dog. Like, man swung it.
Oh, God.
So it was kind of at that point where I was starting to think, how badly do I actually want to stay here? Because the rent was very cheap. That's why I stayed. That's why I wanted to stay. I was paying 2/3 of what I'm paying now.
Yeah, right.
And eventually decided to stay, and just kind of ignored it.
Stay there? What?
The rent, the rent being cheap, and
it's really tough moving. Like, it's not something anyone wants to go through.
Look, also something you guys have to understand. I've been in like 4 different living situations since I moved out of home.
Yeah.
Before that, I've probably since I immigrated from South Africa, I think in total I've lived in almost 11 different properties in under 7 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've moved around a lot.
Yeah.
Even in South Africa, I moved cross country for school, all sorts. I don't really want to move again.
Yeah.
That was what was stopping me from leaving.
Is there also, I'd assume, an element of fear? You've got a 40-year-old guy on meth.
Honestly, I was never really afraid of him.
Okay.
I was afraid of what he actually... Yes, on meth, that's the afraid part.
Yeah.
Any old bloke on the streets, I'll take my chances with them. Like, you never know. I might be a skinny little twink, but I could kick someone in the nuts really hard and run away.
Yeah.
Like, that's a doable option. Guy with meth, and to bring to the next point in the story, loaded firearms. So, man's had multiple guns, firearms, all legal, all with licenses, in a safe. So it's not like he was handling them, like mishandling them. But he still had them. You pair that with meth and beating your dog.
Yeah.
That all combined, that scared me. And one day, come home from a long day of work, has decided to buy a washing machine. A dishwasher. It's very good. We didn't have one. We wanted one, but no one really wanted to buy it. I spent $300 on a dishwasher. You could just wash it by hand. It's all right. Instead, he gets one. Couldn't pay internet bill that week, which was $24. But he bought a washing machine, dishwasher. Yeah. Speaks to his where his
head was at.
Where his head was at. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
But let me just give you a bit of a layout of the house because it's important for this piece of the story. Sure. So we have a very small kitchen, and then through the kitchen is a laundrette, or like a little French laundry. Now, he decided to put the dishwasher in the middle of the doorway to get into that back room, which had my fridge. We all had our own fridge, which was quite pog, actually. I like that quite a lot.
Oh, the silver lining.
Look, there's a base behind every cringe.
Words to live by, huh?
Yeah, I can say Gandhi said it once. But in the middle of the doorway, my fridge is past that doorway. So not only could I not get into that section, I couldn't get into the fridge where I keep my meats.
Yeah.
My vegetables and my fruits sometimes if I bought.
Sure. Cold apples are cool.
Yeah. I can say apples and whatnot. In the middle of the doorway. So I thought of a logical solution. I didn't want to, because this bastard had connected it to water and all. Like it was operational.
Yeah.
In the doorway. So I picked it up and I put it on top of the washing machine, which it was sitting just in front of. Okay. Now I put a board down on the washing machine. Washing machine wasn't damaged. Everything was fine. Could use both things. It was connected to the water. It was the perfect solution.
Convenient, for sure, yeah.
I get a text message from later that, I think the next day, saying, I don't think she said anything, just screenshots of a conversation has now had with her, saying how he is so sick of me dropping, I don't want to drop the slurs, but homophobic slurs directed towards me. I'm a very feminine guy, which is fine. He is saying things like, this is the last straw. I'm going to shoot this. Okay. Like,
yeah.
Like actually very aggressive.
Yeah.
And so that was the first kind of, I need to get the out of here.
Real fear.
Like,
now there's fear, like real
yeah,
danger.
Yeah, because it was actual danger. Being from South Africa, I've been in and amongst plenty of different scenarios where I'm feeling a bit threatened. It's not a great situation, but never from someone in my own home that I live with.
Yeah.
And it was a different kind of fear because I have to sleep there every night. There's no lock on my door. I see him every day. We share a kitchen, we share bathrooms, we share everything. So it was a bit of an inner turmoil because now I'm I'd settled myself in. I had sorted everything out. I was relatively happy in my little area. It was a 10-minute walk from Mitcham Station. Took me 30 minutes to get to work on foot. Didn't have a car yet. Yeah, so it was a good spot. Didn't want to leave. I'm sick of moving at this point. I thought I could stick it out. Maybe I could talk to him. Didn't work. He's a very passive-aggressive person. Sorry, not a passive-aggressive. He's a very passive person in person. So it was never very confrontational right there and then. It was over text, which kind of gave a false sense of security because he doesn't really mean it. But then you factor in a little sprinkle of meth, and all of a sudden he could very well mean it. Yeah.
And just because you lived with him, and I'm wondering if you and like, what was the relationship like with her throughout this house stay? Like, were you both like slowly realizing that this is a really cooked place to live?
Yeah, so I had lived with and a previous person that stayed there for about a year, maybe 7 months before I moved in. Apparently all this kind of started after I moved in. Whoa. So I don't know if it just coincided with a midlife crisis or if I'm just not pleasant.
Yeah, but you just fell off the rails at your sheer presence.
You left one dish out. It was like, nah, this is it.
I'm doing meth.
That was the house that I started getting better at, by the way. I'm a much better housemate now. Everyone's got their flaws in the house.
Of course, yeah.
This is over a few years of development for sure. But
yeah, I mean, I'm older now too. I've developed as a person. I've developed all sorts of ways. Yeah. So that's kind of the last of the antagonization from to me.
Right.
At this point, I called to Consumer Affairs because I wanted to get out the lease at this point.
Yeah, of course. Was it? So who was on the lease?
So
him?
I was on the lease. Was on the lease, and so was
okay.
Technically, because it's a side note, but our real estate agent at that property was so piss poor. I handed in my signed lease to her, never submitted it. So I paid bond, paid months and months of rent, paid for electricity, all the bills, and they had no idea I was living there. They thought the previous guy who moved out months ago was still there, and his name was still on the lease.
Oh.
And so
there's your out.
I didn't realize that until much later.
Oh, dude.
But it was quite a good little thing to find out, a little Easter egg.
Yeah.
So contacted Consumer Affairs because the way leases work, if you're all on a lease, an equal like partnership lease, every person on the lease has to agree to end it. Because otherwise, if I moved out, I would have to find a replacement. That's my obligation.
Yes. You don't want to stitch someone else with this.
Exactly. How do you find someone to replace you and not tell them that they're moving in with the devil?
Yeah.
So the only option was to break the lease. We tried to find some like sneaky ways around it. Nothing worked. And one of two options really, was taking out it's like a restraining order, but not quite. So if I'm living with someone, or if anyone's living with anyone that they have a restraining order against, that's grounds to break the lease, because a lease shared amongst people all like on equal parts is considered a family home. So it falls under domestic violence and like family violence,
right?
Which VCAT puts to the top of their list. So if I file for this thing with the government, I can get out. That means I've got to go to court. That means I have to inform. It's going to be informed, and there's going to be a layover period of where I'm at the house and he knows, and he's on meth and has guns. Yeah. So it was a bit of a situation, and looking back on it, I shouldn't have felt bad about this, but I was very torn apart about the idea that I now possibly hold not his life in my hands, but getting a restraining order put out against you isn't isn't exactly a good thing. I'm not going to ruin his life, but at the same time, he's done actual bad things. And I felt an obligation to either report or make it known, but I also felt like it could be sorted out without trying to stir up drama where it didn't need to be stirred. Not that this is drama. This is actually a very serious...
police intervening and whatnot. It's a big thing to undertake.
Yes.
However you phrase it, that's a huge undertaking.
It was one of the first moments in my young adult life where I've actually felt like an adult. You get a car at 19, 20, that's cool, you're driving on the roads, but until you're like arrested or actually have to be involved in some sort of criminal offense, I don't know how to phrase it. It's just a different feeling, a different experience.
I think there's pivotal moments that happen in your early adult life that kind of take away your rose-tinted glasses, and you start to realize what the world can be, whether that's a death in the family or an almost death scare or a car accident that can be quite intense. Like, things like that can happen, and suddenly, you completely wake up to it. There's definitely pivotal moments like that completely change the way you are and change the way you look at the world.
Yeah,
and I think that is your growing up point as well. It sucks, but it's just...
It was a weird one, though, because I'd experienced a lot of crime in South Africa. I've been mugged. I've had our car hijacked multiple times. I've been my family has been a piece in a police investigation into like house robberies. We had to, with knowledge that people might be coming over to rob our house, we had to stay there as a stakeout with cops around the corner. So I'm no stranger to sketchy situations.
Would you say that's normalized, though, because you were in South Africa?
Very much so.
You leave South Africa to get safety.
Actually, that's a very good point. It's a very, very good point. But yeah, to carry on with it.
Yeah, please.
Because and I would both have to do this if we wanted to break the lease.
Of course, yeah.
So the other option was to terminate the lease with all parties agreeing. Now, this was a big kind of ask to try pull off with, because he doesn't like me at all, apparently, and he likes, but he's, pardon me, really rude and a bit 40-year-old tradey towards her, if that makes sense.
Sure. It's sexist, but
gotcha. Very much so. But before we could even bring it up, get a text in the group chat saying, "Hey, I just want to let you guys know I would like to leave at the end of this lease. I don't want to stay here anymore. I wish you the best of luck." And it was like it was a silver lining. And it was very unexpected. It was very based of him. And it didn't really work out, as you could imagine. Crackhead giving his word that he wants to move out. So I downloaded a form from VCAT, the official form to give notice that I'm leaving. Yep. We had to give a month's notice. All parties on the lease had to sign it, and they all had to sign it within the same day.
Jeez.
I bent over backwards to try and get him to come home and sign it. Signed it, sent it off, all good. Then I find out I'm not on the lease. So this man's just got a notice to vacate from me, our new real estate agent, and his reply was, "I don't have you as a resident there."
Oh my god!
You're saying, "Oh my god," but this was my break.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
This was my way out. I hold no legal responsibility. I probably held some, but
not really. Yeah,
because you weren't there for very long either.
No,
so it's not
you
like
weren't considered a real person in their eyes. Sorry.
Yeah, because there's an amount of time, like, it's not squatters' rights, but it's in the same vein of if you stay in a place or with people for long enough, you're kind of liable for something. But in this case, it was such a short tenure still.
Yeah, so it was a nice little escape from it.
So you just got to, that was it. That was your out.
Almost.
Oh my god.
Because
story keeps me.
Like, there's twists and turns. It's a winding river.
Yeah, sure.
So and I decided we wanted to move out together because we could not stand for obvious reasons, and I didn't want to leave her in the house with him. And I got along quite well too, which was nice. It was It was the first housemate that I wasn't already friends with, that I moved in with and became friends with. It was nice. So we started looking around, but the thing is actually on the lease.
Okay.
So it started the whole shebang again, and we had to track down the last guy that was on the lease, get him to sign off, which pissed him off because he didn't want to deal with this. He's been living out of the house for like 3 months already.
Yeah.
I've already paid him the bond, because the way I think the bonds work the same in every share house. I pay the person that I take over from, and then whoever fills my gap does the same. He had been paid out, all sorts, had to come back for it. But at this point, I said, if you need a hand, I'll help, but I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to try anything past what you ask of me.
You've been there 3 months. It's not on you.
Exactly. Yeah. And we ended up finding a place. Super cute. Her dog, Kodak Black. Shout out. Came along with us. Yeah. Great dog. Pointer cross greyhound, very cute, very anxious, and we moved out. Yeah, and you would think that this is the end of the story.
I was hoping so.
I'll run through the rest of it a bit quicker, but it does continue.
How? Track you down? Is he following you?
Yeah. So he decided 2 days before the lease ended, decided that he didn't want to end the lease, which he had every right to do, technically, because the form isn't valid until the 30 days are up. So he rescinded it and decided to keep staying there. Now, had paid a bill maybe once on time in the 3 months I was there. Like, it would be 2 weeks late on rent, and he paid the most rent, so that would come out of our accounts instead.
And that's on all of you. Like, it's not on any one person in a share home. You're all responsible for it getting fully paid, no matter who's behind.
Yeah, and you would miss rent, but then also buy a dishwasher.
Interesting cat. Right.
Yeah.
So he rescinds.
He stays. We, at this point, don't really have any contact. We were supposed to come back to the house to, clean stuff out, hard rubbish collection, which I had booked. I needed to move a bunch of furniture that his dog destroyed out of the house. And the weekend that we moved out, we just decided to chill at home, unpack, as anyone would do. Anyone would just stay in your new home for a couple days and figure stuff out. Sunday night, I get a paragraph from very aggressive saying how I am a for just ditching him with all of our garbage, not coming and cleaning, that he's going to report us to VCAT, that he's going to get the police involved. And at this point, I just laughed at it. Like, we've got so much on him that we could probably actually send him away.
And you weren't even on the lease. You had no responsibility.
At no point in this story did I hold any responsibility for that house. Yeah. And that's the funniest thing. But yeah, big old message from I said, look, mate, we're coming on next week. Like, off, give us some time to just relax. And at this point, we felt very fine. He didn't know where we stayed. He had no idea. So we were out of it. And that's what I thought.
You give me one more twist, I swear to God.
This is the last one. So, and it's a good one to end on.
Yeah, great. Let's go.
It's fun. It makes you feel warm inside at the end of it, because stayed in the house, got 2 new people to move in with him. Month later, we all get a chain email. You have been evicted. Yeah. And it was a very big win. And now he's officially out the house. I've driven past it a few times since, and they left fridges, couches, all sorts just on the property, like not inside the house, in the driveway.
Jeez.
And they just left. And I haven't heard anything from them since. Zeus was the thing that I felt the worst about.
Yeah.
I actually almost kidnapped Zeus. You laugh, but I was very, very close to just, I still had the keys, so I was just going to run in, call Zeus, get into the car, go. But that's an actual criminal offense.
It is, and we don't want you committing any of those.
I'll get deported.
And we've got to I don't know if you were to, just in retrospect, takeaways from that, for anyone trying to find a home, because that is an awful nightmare situation. I'm so sorry you went through it. But what do you think? It was a matter of just not knowing the kind of guy you were getting into the home with?
I think it was wrong place, wrong time. Or more so not knowing who I was moving in with. Which, honestly, you can never really know.
No,
it's always a bit of a game of chance. Am I going to get a good housemate?
But try and meet up with them at a cafe or something like that. 100%.
Well, I had met before, and
Hey, not your fault.
It was
Thank
not
you
my fault
for coming on the podcast, Slade. We
pleasure.
love you. We appreciate you. Any parting words you want to say? Barrel that camera. Give him a what for? Thank you, Slade.
I'm going to bleep all of that.
This has been the Sharehouse podcast. You can find us at sharehousepod@gmail.com. Sharehousepod across all the social medias. Joel, take us home.
Make sure you tell someone you love them.